I would find myself in the French Open final. And I'd never been that deep in a major before, so I was in uncharted waters. And those are the moments that I grew up falling in love with tennis watching. Those big matches, the Wimbledon finals, the French finals, the US Open finals. Now I was going to be one of the characters in the play. And it was a little surreal, even though I'd been at a high level and played all the best players in the world. Being on that stage was just a different element that I was unfamiliar with, and I didn't know how I would respond to it. And I remember sitting in the locker room just not really knowing how I was going to feel. I knew I was going to go play tennis. I know how to do that, but I don't know how to play in a Grand Slam final because I've never faced it. And I talked to my coach about it, and he said, listen, I haven't done it either. I played big matches. What I can tell you is that the ball doesn't know it's a final. The balls, when they pop them open, they're going to be the same balls that we practiced with this morning. Yeah. They're kind of like the Hoosiers moment, the basket's the same. And I was in a pretty good headspace and he's my friend today, Stan Smith, the great legendary tennis player, was there, and he walked into the locker room and he said something to me like 5 minutes before we're going onto the court. He's like, hey Jim, just make sure, on the ceremony afterwards that you thank the US Tennis Association. And it just kind of stumped me. So it kind of like threw me out of my zone. I was like, why would you do that? Why would I have to say that? And so I walked onto the court in a bit of a daze and found myself down a set in about 30 minutes.
Wow.
And kind of wondering what was going on. And then I got a little clarity and sort of snapped out of it, was able to kind of take a little breather and relax and start to just play tennis eventually and start to problem solve out there. But it was very challenging to deal with two things that one thing that I knew was going to throw me off, and then another one that just last minute was a curveball that I just didn't see coming at all. And then I went out and had to figure out how to deal with this extra little wrinkle that got thrown into this moment in my life that I knew was going to be a kind of a pass-fail.
What were the results?
I won. And
was there anything that you learned from that you carried forward as a ritual, or some way that you learned
keep Stan Smith away from me before
I was like,
he's a great guy.
On your list?
He's a very good friend. I'm a kid for Stan, but getting through that match allowed me to understand how to go deeper into myself before moments like that, moments of high stress. So I never felt the same way that I felt in that match at the French Open again.
Well, in 2011, after Bakugan, and our company was fortunate. There was something called Bakugan. It was a TV show we did in Japan with the balls. So we launched Bakugan. It took off. We did over $1 billion in sales at wholesale, and it was #1. It outsold Star Wars one year. And in 2011, our sales went up to $917 million. And then within 18 months, they went down under $500 million, under $500 million. And it was a very dark time for me. And during Bakugan moments, it was the first time in my life that strange thoughts went through my mind. Like I was thinking about, things I wouldn't say today. Everything went through my mind. And in those deep moments, what I decided to do one night was I wrote down all the questions I was asking myself on paper. I wrote in this black book. I was sitting in my office at home. I wrote down, what are the things that need to happen in the future to be happy to me, to be successful. And I said at that moment, okay, I'm putting the book away, and for the next 12 months, I'm just putting my head down and I'm focusing. And for the next 12 months, I'm just going to give the company everything the company needs.
I worked with a sports psychologist from the age of 14, 15. Jim Blair was on campus at Bollettieri's Academy, one of the original sports psychologists. So we were able to book appointments in time, and he helped me really help organize, my thoughts for on-court pressure moments that I still use today.
Can you share a nugget?
It's pretty simple. The structure that Jim helped me organize was the time in between points that tennis players have. At that point, 30 seconds. Now it's down to 20 seconds that you have where you can let your mind wander if you're not careful.
As I mentioned before, because I don't have much inhibition, I put myself in pressure moments all the time. So, when you think of pressure, for me, I've had so much practice with pressure. Like, for example, in the first 10 years of Spin Master, buyers, they knew I was the owner, co-CEO. So buyers would pressure me to sign a credit note on the spot. I mean, I remember I was in Hong Kong about 16 years ago, and the buyer from Kmart, I won't share his name, he wanted me to sign a $220,000 credit note for an air hogs. And he started cracking his knuckles, okay, and screaming at me to try to get me to sign a credit note. Right? And this is 16 years ago. Yeah. So I've been in dozens of situations where people put pressure on me. So that practice has helped me deal with the pressure. And I also, you know, for me, I over-prepare for things. The preparation helps me, it softens the whole pressure. Yeah. And the other thing is, like, my view of the company is so long-term that what seems to be so much pressure is actually just a micro event. So I can put it into perspective. And it seems like it's such a pressure moment, but I'm thinking about what's best for the business 5 years from now. And I think the other thing is, in the last couple of years, I've been reading a lot about human psychology. Like, I've been reading, you know, Think Fast and Slow. I've been, you know, reading different books. So when people start, you know, putting pressure, I expect certain things because I'm now understanding human psychology more, right? And one of my biggest techniques for dealing with pressure in a meeting, okay, here's a tip for you, Jim. All right. Okay, is when someone's putting a lot of pressure on you, lower your voice and start asking them a bunch of questions. And the person who's asking questions is in control. And the pressure will start to come down, and you'll start controlling the meeting when they're having all these antics.
Yeah, smart. I mean, the thing I think that separates the truly elite in anything is how they deal with pressure, right? Yeah. Because if you get to an elite level, you're going to be dealing with the utmost pressure. How do you handle that red light? I call the red light moment, when the pressure is at its apex. The big points in a tennis match, there are probably 5 or 6 that usually matter. The best players in the world, what they do is very similar to what they do if the score is the first point of the game. They don't try and do too much. They don't try and do too little. They try and do what's right. They try and play the math that works best for their percentage tennis. And the pretenders, the people that can't handle that, are the players that either want to hit a winner too fast, they want an outcome quickly because they can't relax in the moment. They don't want to slow down that pressure moment. They want to speed it up and get out of it because they just want it to be done no matter what the result. That's their instinct, is get me out of here. And then you have the other side of the coin of people who don't want responsibility. If we were in a team sport, basketball, let's say, they would be the player who would just keep passing the ball rather than take the shot. They don't want it. So in tennis terms, that's someone who plays extremely safe, plays right down the middle. They don't play with their normal style. And the people who are true to themselves at pressure moments are the ones who find their way through those pressure moments more frequently.